And welcome everybody to today's exciting episode.
Big shrimping, Lil Shrimp, pirate drop that beat. Side sleepers, it's time to open your peepers. Deep dive into conspiracies, but we're going deeper. Let's talk about it, aliens and creepy ghosts. It's podcast time with your two favorite spooky hosts. Get comfy, sit back, it's night or day, and welcome everybody to Paranormality UK.
We as pros in it.
And I wrote that in 5 minutes whilst I was taking a poo.
As all professionals do. You did look very pro. I guess it's time for costume change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got into a trance. I was taken over by the spirit of Big Pimpin' himself.
Oh, right. Okay. So you call yourself a little shrimpin'.
Big Shrimpin'.
Big shrimpin'.
That's my motto. I'm Big Shrimpin'. My rap name is Lil Shrimp.
Oh, little shrimp doing big shrimpin'.
Yeah, it's what I do.
Ain't no pimpin' with a little shrimpin'.
It's what I do. So now I'm just going to change.
There you go. Now you look like a proper rapper with your normal glasses on.
Change the shades for them sick glass eyes.
Spectacles.
Yeah. I'm back.
You're back.
I just thought I'd try something new. Why not?
Yeah, something a bit original, you know. We've all got a bit of music in our blood.
That is true. You know, we've done some covers in the past. And
you're going back to your mixed ethnicity roots, man.
I am, yeah. It's in my blood.
Country and hip-hop.
All kinds. What's weird is I mainly gravitate towards rock music to the point that it's unlistenable to most people.
Like I know you for being into your metal.
Yeah.
It kind of surprised me over the last few months that you're actually as into country music as you are. I didn't think you were into that at all.
I love it. It's
the hip-hop doesn't surprise me, though.
The hip-hop comes from my brother. He was the one that...
Yeah, he's big into his hip-hop, isn't he?
Yeah, because me and my brother are like chalk and cheese. Like, he's into sports and hip-hop and rap, and I'm into no sports and rock music. So
chilling out.
But yeah, over the years, he has actually got me into like different rap music. But even then, what's funny is the rap music I'm into, he doesn't like. So like, I've always loved Beastie Boys, and he can't stand it.
Oh, you gotta love the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I love Beastie
They're like
Boys.
The original.
Yeah, absolutely love them. But yeah, I like that more kind of old school, kind of 90s hip hop kind of.
So you
thing.
thought you'd write a gangster rap song for the podcast?
Nothing gangster about me. Not with a name like Lil Shrimp. There's no way I'm gang banging and stuff.
There's worse out there.
Yeah. Well, I think today we need to shout out to, is it Kitty?
Oh, yeah, hang on. Let me pull up the... Oh, I can't. It was Kitty Byron something. I can't remember what the
Kitty
surname
Byron Saxton?
Something. I don't want to say it to get it wrong, but it was it was an email that we got.
Well, she knows who she is.
Yeah, ask it. Well, obviously saying that she was loving the pod and the Doddleston messages, I think, and she wanted to know what our take was on a certain case.
Yes.
I heard of it before, but I had to look it up on Google to jog my memory. And all I know is it's something about a dude who had some weird telephone calls.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then you
Case
looked
closed.
into it. You looked into it and you were like, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Kitty who suggested today's episode.
And I got really into it. Like
Yeah,
after I should probably shout out to where like I got my sources from and stuff, because I think that's probably important to give them the credit. So the main one was unresolved.me. So this guy, he's like a journalist. He basically did the whole case, and it's like 33 minutes long in video form and audio,
right,
where he includes all of the sound bites and everything. He done such a great job of it. I thought there's no real reason to go anywhere else. So I used his research, his website, but I also did a couple of YouTube videos and Wikipedia and things as well. So there are other websites, but the main one is unresolved.me. This guy was amazing at it, and I think his name's at the end of the notes. So
so you've got to wait till the end of the episode to find out his.
Yeah, but he
credit.
sums it up really, really well, and he just did such a fantastic job. So
And we have also sourced the original recordings.
We're
going to be playing some sound bites from that as well.
Yeah. I'll let you know when
to activate that.
Yeah.
So I have an extra mouse today, especially for that.
So should we just dive into it? Because this is an absolute fascinating case. I'd never heard of it.
I'd heard of it somewhere in the back of my mind. It was familiar, but I've never dove into it myself. I've never actually researched it or looked into it.
I wonder, there must be people that would have heard of it, but yeah, I just found it absolutely fascinating. And as you can see in my notes, I've crossed out the bits that. Where it's kind of like it.
So you got attracted by a shiny this week then?
Yeah, kind of.
Because you were going to do something else this week. I won't mention what it is because it will still come up on the podcast at some point. But
I've forgotten what I was going to do because I got so into this. So let's dive into the case of Gary Sudbrink. So February of 1993, 27-year-old Gary Sudbrink, originally from Long Island, New York, was a captain in the Air Force, assigned to a medical pharmacy in San Antonio, Texas. Gary had decided to come home and visit his family without telling anyone ahead of time. Gary arrived at his parents' home without issue the first weekend of February, but almost immediately thereafter things started to get very weird. On the evening of Monday, February 8th, my brother's birthday, Gary decided to call...
Tell everybody that, why not? Yeah.
Gary decided to call one of his old friends, Mike, hoping to make plans to get together and hang out while he was in town. However, during this call, Mike told Gary that he had actually spoken to one another the day before, which Gary knew wasn't the case, because surely he'd remember that conversation from the day before.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, literally within 24 hours. So despite Gary not believing what Mike was telling him, Mike insisted that Gary had called him on the phone the day before, or at least someone that sounded just like him, who called himself Gary. Claimed to have flown in through LaGuardia Airport and claimed to be getting over a cold. In reality, Gary had flown in through JFK and was in good health at the time, with no cold. So this seemed to have been a weird mistake or mix-up of some kind. The alternatives were just unsettling to think about. However, while Gary was talking to his friend at around 10:30 p.m., trying to figure out what was going on, another call came into his parents' phone line. What he heard made him pause. Enough so that he pressed record on a nearby answering machine when it became clear that this was no regular call. The caller is speaking slowly and almost mechanically. It sounds like their voice has been altered in some way, slowed down and distorted to some robotic or even alien in nature. Gary makes mention of a man named Stephen. Stephen is Gary's older brother, who he believes might have been calling and messing with him, playing a prank.
Okay.
Even though Stephen wasn't necessarily known as a prankster or a joker of this kind. Gary's parents jumped in on the call for a moment, thinking that they'd be able to guess the identity of the caller. They weren't able to. However, due to how cryptic the caller sounded and the weird things they were saying, they seemed to say through stammers, is Gary Sudbrink there? They then say multiple times, "You're being impersonated by the other voice." And then 5 times in this phone call alone, they ask, "How long are you going to be back from Texas?" So right. I think we should probably play the clip so people can hear, like, just to say that this voice is very creepy. I did not like listening to this.
This is the first time I've heard this. So yeah, here we go. So from the start, yeah?
Yeah, buddy.
Right. Next couple of minutes will be the phone call.
I'll tell you who it is.
Hello?
Yeah. Do you want to speak to him?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Yeah, who's this? Steven? Are you playing games with me or what? Huh? Steven, if you're playing games, I'm going to kick your ass.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Huh?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, this is you, Steven, you idiot. You're pissing me off. Jerk. I'm gonna get you on... Let's see what it says. Review. One new call out of area. Is Steven out of the area?
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Wait, say that again?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Wait, hold on. Is Steven out of the calling area or what? What do you mean you don't know? He's in Queens. Well, who are you talking to? I don't know who the
Hello?
Hello?
Here's Gary Sudbrink there.
Who is this? Sounds like a freaking robot.
So
Hello?
how long are you going to be back from Texas?
What was that again, sir?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Oh,
Yeah.
be quiet.
I mean, that's
Sorry.
pretty much.
Okay. Yeah.
So I should have warned there was a little bit of swearing in that clip.
I'll
but-
get the bleep machine out. Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah, that's very. That's. Do you mind if I just interject?
Go for it. Go for it.
I don't know what kind of technology was around in 1993. Was it you said?
If you're going to try and debunk this already early on, save it. Save it for the end.
No, all I was going to say is it sounds like something that's pre-recorded and played back. Like where he's just saying the same sentence and it sounds the same every time. You are being impersonated by the.
There
other
is a lot of
voice,"
repetition.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just my first impression.
Oh, you mean you think that he's playing something on the other end of the
Yeah,
line?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is
Well, maybe from a tape recorder or something like that, and it's playing it back in slow motion or something, and then he's just rewind, play, you know. Because it is literally just the same thing over and over again, isn't it?
apart from when he says his name, like he stutters a little bit, but then
Yeah, okay.
So-
Alright. Well, carry on.
yeah, there is a few differences, but that
It
is
is,
a good theory. That
yeah.
could be very possible.
It's tickling my teats.
So, because also it says here that computer soundboards weren't really available at this point in 1993.
No, they wouldn't have been, no.
So a little while after this call, just after 11 p.m., the caller called back, and Gary was quick to hit record on the answering machine again. This call seems to be a bit harder to make out because of the speaker's low volume. The caller first asks if it's Gary on the other end, and if he's back from Texas, again repeating himself,
Yeah.
and then repeats some of the lines from the first call. So, how long are you going to be back from Texas? Is this Gary Sudbrink? And then they ask, one of the stranger moments in the call is, who is this? Here, though, is where it gets truly odd. The caller in the low mechanical, almost Buffalo Bill sounding voice starts to say, keep an eye on the skies, near Orion, the full moon. So
Okay.
if we can somehow skip to like 5 minutes, 55 seconds of the recording, or roughly there.
Right, 5:50.
Yeah, that'll do.
Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Yes, can I talk to him? I had a sighting already.
Okay, hold on. Say that. Repeat that again. Please repeat. Okay. Near Orion.
Holy mackerel. Tonight or guess on when?
The full moon.
They told
So double from here.
Repeat.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
Okay, repeat last word. I'm hearing static.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
He hung up.
He hung up.
There you go.
Hello?
Okay. I heard something double something.
Yeah.
That last bit.
Yeah, so this, for some reason, the the second phone call,
Very quiet.
it's not as good quality as
Yeah.
before. But he also, further on in the conversation, he then starts repeating himself again back to the first phone call. Just
Okay.
saying, like, how long are you in Texas? Is this Gary Sudbrink? So for whatever reason, the phone calls just keep going back to that.
Right.
So it's very bizarre. So the caller repeats these lines a few times before Gary's dad jumps in on the line, which is who we heard. Seeming to be a believer in the paranormal or extraterrestrial, Gary's dad inquires about certain lines that the caller says, particularly when he says near Orion. So his father's intrigue possibly fuels Gary throughout the call. So that's something to keep in mind. So his dad was a big believer in aliens, and he would quite often go out looking for UFOs and things like that.
Okay. But it said in the first extract that you are being impersonated by the other voice.
Yes.
But that's not actually Gary's voice that's saying that. We haven't heard Gary being impersonated yet. Is that yet to come?
I don't think so. So that's basically referring to, I mean, it's obviously very cryptic, but the thing with
the
Mike.
phone call with Mike, you were being
Yeah.
impersonated by the other voice. Right, okay.
Yeah, so Mike swears down that they had this conversation the day before, and that would have been Gary's voice. So
Right.
then this phone call that Gary is now getting is kind of warning him in a way.
Yeah.
It
I guess
seems
is,
like
yeah.
warnings. So approximately half an hour later, while Gary and his parents were discussing the two phone calls they'd already received, their phone rang yet again. This time the caller seemed to take a while to begin actually making any noise and seemed quieter than ever. So listen closely. Also at the beginning, Gary's father makes mention of a Brian. That's just like a mistake in the moment, as Brian is Gary's other brother.
Okay, yeah.
So during this call, the caller repeats some of the same phrases, but sometimes in slightly different variations. So this is where your theory of the tape machine,
tape machine or recording being played back.
it could work to some degree, but then when he's repeating the word, it's different ways of him saying the same thing, and it's mainly just variations of Gary's name. So,
right.
Is Gary Sudbrink there? Here is Gary Sudbrink. Are you back from Texas? Keep an eye on the sky. And he's just and the thing you heard double, he then starts saying, "Show double from you."
Okay,
That's cryptic, isn't
I
it?
guess referring to some kind of doppelganger,
Yeah.
a double.
Basically, yeah, implying that there is a doppelganger. It's up to you if you.
You want to listen to some more?
You can do the recordings. They
Very
do go a
quiet,
little
are
bit
they?
quiet, so it's up to you if you wanted to go back to the start where it's a bit clearer, just to give people a bit more.
I just want to hear some of these variations. So if I just skip a forward like another minute. or
Yeah,
so.
try it.
Oh,
No, that's fine. That's the end of the first.
that's
first-
the.
Okay. Yeah, it's taking time for him to talk. Who is this? Stephen, this is not funny, you know.
Brian, it's not Stephen.
What do you mean, Brian?
I mean, Gary.
How do I know it's not Stephen?
It's not Stephen. Hello? I had a UFO experience in West Virginia, which you probably know. And I know that you're into an intergalactic person. Can you speak a little louder? Sir? Can you speak a little louder? Louder?
Let me speak to him, Dad. I guess, I don't know what his...
All right, I'll hang up so you can talk to me. He wants to talk to you.
Okay. Hello, can I help you?
Hello,
Yes.
there's Gary Sudbrink.
Yes, that's me.
You're Mr. Gary Sudbrink.
Yes, could you please identify yourself? Identify.
Oh, you're back from Texas.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm in Texas right now. Oh, he asked me a question. No, I'm in New York right now. You know that. Why are you asking me such a question?
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
No,
so he
it's
just said
very
it again.
quiet, I guess.
Yeah, very, very quiet. And I think it just gets worse towards the end. It's just quieter and quieter.
And do these phone calls just pretty much pattern repeat those same few
Yeah,
things all the way through?
Yeah.
Various phone calls.
yeah, pretty much. Like, he doesn't really say anything else. He
I
just...
guess it beats heavy breathing, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, Gary's father was intrigued by the call throughout, seeming to believe that his son was being communicated with an extraterrestrial.
NHI.
That's what the dad was heavily thinking.
Yeah.
Someone he refers to a few times as an intergalactic person. He also references a prior experience he'd had in West Virginia, which some people are saying it's related to the phenomenon surrounding Point Pleasant in the mid-1960s.
Fair enough.
The third...
That's when he had the...
That's when the dad had
experience.
the
Yeah,
experience
yeah.
with it. So the third call, which came in at approximately 11:38 p.m., would prove to be the Sudbrink's final phone call from the mysterious individual on the evening of February 8th. So this is all in one day.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Fair play.
So, however, it would not be the last mysterious phone call they'd received from this unknown person. That would come the next night on February 9th and would prove to be the weirdest phone call yet. So the following night, Tuesday, February 9th, 1993, Gary Sudbrink was still with his parents. They had been unable to talk about much without reverting back to the series of strange phone calls they'd received the night prior. That evening, in particular, Gary's uncle Tom had also come to visit. He was still there when the family's phone rang just before 10:30. The phone call, the longest out of all the phone calls, features some of the strangest comments and questions yet from the mysterious individual on the other end of the line. First, the caller begins by saying some similar statements to those from the night before. Is Gary Sudbrink there? Is this Gary Sudbrink? Gary Sudbrink. But then the caller starts veering into new territory, things that are extraterrestrial in nature. So...
Oh, can we...
you
so
see
where
where
that
the...
break is, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
go for that one.
Yes. Stephen, yes, this is me. Can I speak to you? Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is. Yes, that is me.
To be within this planet.
Say that again?
This planet.
Leave?
We come
I'm staying right here.
to be within this planet.
Is this a joke or what?
We come to be what? Have you got a
Okay,
transcription
yeah, I've
of
got a
that?
transcript. So he says, we come to be within this planet. In this planet we come to be within this planet. To visit the many...
Hold on, okay, yeah, let's just carry on listening for a minute.
The many. To be contact. As the same with you.
I have to think about that. I'd like to see you.
The many. To be contact. As the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you,
That's his uncle.
and I've had contacts with you.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference. Okay.
beware of government interference.
Visitations to be disrupted by them. Appears. Sun will rise.
Okay, if you pause it there, I'll go over just so people can keep
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Okay.
So he said on that last bit, we come to be within this planet, in this planet we come, to be within this planet, to visit the many, to be contacted as the same with you. Then he says, beware government interference, beware. Government interference, visitations to be disrupted by them.
Yeah.
And that's where we're up to at the moment. But that was obviously his uncle who was staying there the night that...
Yeah, who interfered in the phone call.
Yeah, because I imagine at that point it's also one of them things where they're saying to him, we've had these weird phone calls, and he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he gets
okay.
like, yeah, I've heard of you before. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you carry on if you want, because
I'll just backtrack by about 10 seconds or so.
there is a few other things he says.
Dark side of
Dark side of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
world. No.
The sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
Okay, what branch of the government? What should I do?
Beware. Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
Okay. Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
There you go. That's it. That's the final
That is it.
phone
Yeah.
call. So the only other thing new he says is the sun will rise on the dark side of the moon. World knows. On the moon, show double from you. Beware government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them. And then that's it. And that is the final phone call. That's all they get.
Fair play.
And yeah, there's a little bit of static towards.
There's a
the
lot of
end.
static. I don't know if I'll be able to clean
Yeah.
that up much. It's probably
I
already
wouldn't-
been cleaned up quite
I
a lot.
wouldn't
hasn't
even
it?
worry about it. Like that's part of the audio. So over the years, audio from these phone calls has been used in various forums, conferences, panels, or even shown discussing UFOs or UAPs to make interferences to the caller being extraterrestrial in nature. Gary's father and his uncle seem to be believers, with his father making mention of the caller being an intergalactic person at times, even seeming to press the issue when Gary was skeptical. The first call was by Gary talking to his friend Mike. Mike told Gary that the day before they had received a similar phone call from someone that sounded just like Gary, so I'm just doing like a recap.
Yeah, yeah.
However, in this phone call, the individual calling himself Gary claimed to have flown in through an incorrect airport and was sick, but he wasn't. None of this was true other than Gary coming back home to visit family, and obviously he kept that on the hush-hush. No one knew he was coming back apart from his parents, and I don't even think it was his friend Mike. I think he had obviously
No,
planned
it's been his
to
commanding
surprise.
officer or whatever in the army. Wasn't it?
But Gary has no explanation for any of this. He hadn't told, that's what I just say, so he hasn't told any of his friends or family that he was even coming back to visit before he did so. But things do get slightly weirder as well. So a year or so earlier, during one of Gary's last trips back home to Long Island, his brother Stephen, the one that was mentioned in the phone calls,
The non-prankster.
the one that he thought was pranking
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
isn't known for it, he recalled seeing someone driving alongside him on the highway in a vehicle that was pretty similar, if not identical, to the one that Gary was driving in Texas.
Okay.
This individual that looked like Gary as well made some strange faces at his brother and then quickly drove off. However, Stephen had been en route to a wedding at the same time Gary was also attending the wedding, so he didn't think anything of it.
Right, yeah.
And then when they spoke about it, that it wasn't Gary. Gary was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was already at the wedding.
Just in a similar car. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a weird situation there. And also, Gary hadn't even been the one to be driving.
Oh, right, yeah.
So they confirmed all this after. So during the first phone call, Gary mentioned Stephen and think he's pulling a prank on him. And he thinks that this could be related to the incident because Gary is still very much, even to this day, still thinks that it could have been his brother playing a prank. He's very skeptical about the whole thing. It's his dad, uncle, and family that are more believing that it's aliens or something extraterrestrial speaking to him.
All I got was flashbacks to the film American Werewolf in London. Beware the moon.
Yeah. The strange encounter from a year earlier, paired with his phone call to his friend Mike, which made Gary question the content of the phone calls entirely. In the years since, it's led to the theory that Gary might have had a strange doppelganger of sorts, especially when you factor in some of the quotes made by the mysterious caller, like "show double of you, you're being impersonated by the other voice," to give even more ammunition to those that think this story has some paranormal or extraterrestrial connection. Gary was at the airport in Texas getting ready to fly home. He had been approached by a man with a clipboard who asked him details such as his name, spelling,
How long are you going to be in Texas?
where he was going, and Gary tells him it and assumed the guy was a salesman or someone taking a census, so he didn't really think twice about it, so he just answered the questions and then went about his day. However, after boarding his flight to New York, he was approached by another man with a clipboard who sat down in the seat next to him and asked him some similar questions. Gary asked the guy to leave him alone, and moments later was seemingly rescued by a stewardess who told the man with the clipboard that he wasn't sitting in the correct seat. However, the guy moved to the seat behind Gary and continued to pester him for a few more minutes before eventually being shooed away from the airplane. Gary wouldn't see this man for the rest of the flight, nor when they disembarked the plane, yet he felt the encounter was enough to call his landlord to keep an eye on his apartment while he was in Long Island.
Okay, yeah.
So the details he gave wasn't really where he was going, it was who he was and where he was from. So he called the landlord to look at the house.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So if we take the theory that this has some sort of extraterrestrial link at face value, we can only assume that a doppelganger of some sorts was attempting to live in Gary's shoes for a brief moment of time. For what reason, we can only guess. However, if this was true, a large assumption to make would be a maybe mysterious, creepy-sounding caller was attempting to call Gary to warn him of his imposter. So there's another theory there of just doppelgangers. There's also another alternative to all of this, which of course is just a prank or a hoax from his brother Stephen.
Yeah, or Brian.
Could be Brian,
Was it
his other brother.
Brian? Yeah, his other brother.
But he's only really mentioned by mistake once. Because all parents do it, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Like my mum used to do it with the cat's
Yeah,
name.
blame it on the old kid.
Yeah. Gerald, Spike, Nathan, Josh.
yeah. My mum used to do that all the time. Nev, Paul, Chris. Oh, which one do you want?
So throughout the call, Gary believes that his brother Stephen is responsible for the call, despite not having a history of pulling pranks or joking around. Stephen is the person who also told Gary the year beforehand about the weird doppelganger they saw on the road. Maybe this was all just a running joke that never got revealed by Stephen. It's also worth pointing out that Gary's father and uncle seem to have been very into UFOs and paranormal. Not only had they gone on to study UFO crashes since like 1992 and before, that they were part of a Long Island UFO group prior to the phone call taking place. And it has been featured in magazines and newsletters focusing on UAPs, including reports their own UFO experience. Maybe they tried pulling off a prank to convince Gary of the existence of extraterrestrials. So the dad and uncle have now been accused of playing a prank on Gary.
Gary was a military man, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, I said at the start, I think
Was it Air Force or Army?
Let me go.
I think think you said Air Force.
Oh, I'm almost there. There's a lot of screenshots. Yeah, captain in the Air Force.
Captain in the Air Force. That makes me wonder what kind of stuff he was involved in the Air Force.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know if he was involved in any clandestine operations or anything like that.
Yeah, that is a possibility. There's also another thing that goes into what you were kind of saying with pressing a recording. So another theory is that the mysterious caller used some sort of soundboard or recording with several scripted lines that were all incredibly close to one another.
Yeah.
Many of the phrases obviously repeat, which is why, or they're identical, which is another reason why people think a tape recording. There's also scratching noises that are picked up on the recordings. I did hear that.
I heard some. Yeah, and some weird static that would start and then stop, and then the voice would start.
Yeah.
It seemed like extra to just the static that was on the telephone call.
And they did like some studies, and they said it's a similar. It could be a similar tape recorder to what they used in Home Alone 2, what Kevin McAllister used, which which came out of November 1992. So it did come out the year prior to these phone calls. In the decades since these phone calls were recorded, some have also questioned why Gary was ready to record the calls so quickly, and if he would have had the means to do so with a simple answering machine.
Yeah, I think he could do with some of the more advanced answering machines.
Yeah.
Because obviously they auto-clicked after so many rings, didn't they? But I think on some of them you could actually press record and record the entire conversation. It didn't just do an answering machine service. It was a call recorder as well.
Yeah. Some have theorised as well that these phone calls might have been part of a traffic pumping scheme in which local exchange telephone carriers in rural parts of the US would inflate the volume of incoming calls to their networks, profiting from the increased inter-carrier compensation fees. However, this didn't really come into play until the Telecommunications Act of 1996. So that almost kind of debunks that theory. Regardless of the idea of these calls were pranks or hoax or whatever, these phone calls are still incredibly unsettling decades later, especially when paired with all of the odd circumstances surrounding them at the time. To this day, it remains unknown exactly what these strange phone calls were. If they were a prank, hoax, extraterrestrials, no one seems to know. But Gary Sudbrink is still around, just no longer in the Air Force. He works as a pharmacist in Pennsylvania, and despite appearing occasionally on shows to talk about these mysterious calls from a generation ago, he does it as a skeptic, believing that they were just prank calls on him. He remains a rather private person. He doesn't seem to be after a significant amount of attention, fame, or notoriety for the phone calls. And he doesn't seem to share his family's belief that the caller was an intergalactic person.
I was about
or
to
some
say,
sort, rather. He just seems to be a normal guy caught up in a strange story.
Yeah, I was just about to say, has this been brought to the forefront because his dad was such a big UFO believer and because his dad thinks it's something paranormal, and Gary's just like, yeah, it was a bit of a weird phone call. Loads of people get them. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. So that's pretty much the Gary Sudbrink case. It's just there's a lot of evidence to suggest it is just a prank call or a hoax or a strange phone call. But then if you are a little bit more in tune with being open-minded or things, or you want to believe that it's communication from an alien or whatever, no judgment here. That you're more than welcome to believe that as well. I didn't like the creepy voice. I did think it was very unsettling, to be fair. Like, I wasn't a fan of listening to that on my own in the dark. So
I'm sure, yeah.
But it's a real mystery, man. It's a real mystery.
Beware the moon.
And and it still hasn't actually officially been debunked or proven.
Or anything.
It's just an unsolved, strange mystery.
It is a strange one.
I'd not heard of it before.
I don't know how to put it to the scale, is the thing.
Well, do you believe it? Do you think it's...
Do I think it's what?
Do you think
What do I think it is?
Do you think it's aliens? What's your take on it?
No, I think it's some weird bloke in his underwear trying to creep him out, to be honest.
So you think prank or hoax?
Thousands of women get weird phone calls every year, don't they? And, it's,
Yeah, they do.
I don't really see this necessarily as anything different. It is creepy. He does say some weird stuff. Oh, the government's going to stop you from having a meeting or whatever. It doesn't say, oh, we are aliens, we're coming such and such a year. Beware, the government's going to try and stop it from happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very cryptic in what it says. It's very repetitive in what it says. And it's almost that same creepy just breathing down the phone.
Yeah.
I like you.
Are you Gary Sudbrink?
Meet me in Pennsylvania.
The only thing I find weird about it is the fact that he didn't tell anyone that he was flying back prior to actually flying back. And then they were saying, when are you coming back to Texas and things? So they kind of knew.
Is that where he was stationed in Texas?
Yeah, that's where he lived at the time. Yeah, I believe.
Okay, so where his family was in
Long Island.
Oh yeah, because
in
that's
New
what he
York?
said on the phone, isn't it? I'm in New York, Long Island, New York. So
Yeah, I do believe he was stationed in Texas, but he was visiting.
so
family.
that's why. How long are you going to be in Texas? Well, until you're stationed somewhere else.
But then, like you say, because he worked as a captain in the Air Force, could it have been a colleague that knew he was going? Because he would have had to tell someone he was going somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be a colleague playing a prank, not his brother. Who knows?
It could be.
I don't think it's aliens. I can tell you that. I don't think it's aliens.
No, I'm not really sold on the alien thing.
I'm not convinced by the aliens.
Yeah, I just think it's some crazy, possibly someone that Gary knows, who he hasn't even thought of. It might even be someone that he did his basic training with in the Air Force. They then got separated, stationed at different posts, and the guy might have been gay, had a thing for Gary, and thought he'd
No.
I don't know.
I hate when you do this.
No, but he
no.
could have
No. I hate when you do this. We're talking about something specifically, and your brain literally just goes to like
Sideways.
this crazy example that I'm like, what? How have you even got that?
I've got it because this guy could be in an administrative office. He's just got the paperwork to say Gary Sudbrink, R&R, going home for the week. Oh, I wonder how long he's meant to be in Texas. I'm just going to pick up the phone and ring him. How long are you going to be in
Mate, you are so
Texas?
strange with the way you think. Like, I know you think outside the box, but that is nuts that you get from A to Z. Like, there's no way I would
Got to go
make
through
that
Gamma
connection.
and Delta as well. Can't I? Why not? It's a theory.
That's a theory and a half. Well, actually, what could be possible is maybe this gay bloke really liked Gary and he was giving him some creepy phone calls.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who knows what he was doing on the other end of that phone? I don't want to know what he was doing on the other end of the phone. His very deep voice and...
I think I'm more likely to believe aliens than your theory of having a gay crush.
from the admin office.
But
Well, that would explain the voice harmonizer, disguising the voice as well, wouldn't it? Don't want him to recognise me.
I don't even think it's that deep. I genuinely think it's just someone playing a prank. If it's not his brother, it's a colleague. And all of a sudden you're writing seasons of a soap opera that's got romance and all sorts.
I never said there was any romance involved. There might be some self-romance by the person on the phone, but I don't know.
Hell. Okay, safe to say we both agree this isn't aliens.
No.
We both...
Creepy kind of stalker, I can believe. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
8.5. Aliens, 0.5. I'm not buying it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna give it a 4.6.
On what?
On the fact that I like the story. I think it's kind of creepy.
Okay, so entertainment value.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 7 point nothing.
Just a 7.
7, yeah. 7 flat. Entertainment value. Like, believability. I believe it happened because obviously we've got the recordings.
Yeah.
It must have been very creepy for Gary at the time. But entertaining for us. Very fascinating. Yeah, I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, that's fair. I just gave it a 4.6 because I don't think there's much to it other than just a creepy
No, neither
phone
do
call.
I, but like I say, 0.5 on the alien front.
Yeah, it works out an average of 7, I guess.
Creepy stalker, 9.
Yeah. Yeah. Creepy gay stalker, according to your thoughts.
Well,
be.
it could be female, but that's one hell of a voice changer if it's female.
Yeah, I mean, you do see in films when they put like cloth over the phone or whatever, don't they, to disguise their voices and things. And
Yeah. I do. I remember a film from the 90s where, what's his name, Christian Slater. I think it was called Pump Up the Volume. And he changed his voice because he did a pirate radio station. He was just a high school kid, and he'd got a voice changer. So when he spoke into the microphone, nobody that he knew at school could recognise his voice, and that did the same thing. It deepened it. So the
okay.
technology might have been around back then. You know what I mean?
That reference was amazing because I've never heard of that film, but there's going to be like 1% of listeners.
I am
would.
10 years older than you. I do remember the 90s.
You're
properly.
coming out with all kinds of brainwaves and references today. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Christian Slater, though, great actor.
Good actor in his
Good,
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's Gary Sudbrink.
Yeah, it was interesting. Definitely, I can see why you got hooked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's just a shame that the conclusion went a little bit downhill for me. But
Yeah, a little bit disappointing, but I guess it's still a mystery. So yeah, you can with our paranormality rating is kind of open to interpretation.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, there could be people out there that rate it higher, or they also kind of agree and think, nah, it's a load of rubbish. Who knows?
Yeah, well, it's not rubbish because it happened. We got the recordings.
No, it
So,
was in the Alien.
Oh,
part
the
of it,
Alien, yeah,
rubbish.
I'm not buying Aliens. I think that Aliens would have a better way of contacting if they were going to do that.
Yeah, they'd shoot laser beams at your butthole or something.
Yeah.
They like probing,
Or,
don't they?
you know,
So-
telepathy. There's always that.
Yeah,
old
there's always
chestnut,
that, yeah. I just went straight to probing for some reason.
That's just like you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it definitely happened. It's just when I say, like, people don't believe it, it's just more of like the whole extraterrestrial thing. I'm more inclined to believe, with how calm the dad and the uncle were. If you notice, the mum wasn't so calm. She actually sounded a little bit
Yeah, she
panicky.
sounded a bit concerned, didn't she?
Whereas the dad and the uncle did seem a bit more calm, as if
this is all in a day's work for us. Yeah, I know you.
Yeah.
I knew your type.
his dad was kind of in on it. Maybe
Yeah.
it was a prank. So that's where I'm leaning more towards, as I think maybe it was the dad. Because he also said very bluntly, like, it's not Stephen. It's not. Do you know what I mean? He was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much like,
yeah.
it's not Stephen.
That's Cletus down the road there.
Yeah, what is with you today with bloody redneck accent? Cletus wasn't even mentioned.
I'm sorry, I'm getting in the country mood.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you need to get in the country mood because there's some sort of announcement, and I can't remember what it is. So
The
I'm
announcement. I'll make the announcement. Yeah, just in case, because obviously last week I mentioned about the show that I'm doing, the local show, with an amateur dramatics group that is nominated for an award by the British Amateur Dramatics Association. I think that's what it is. We don't know if they won it yet because we find that out in May. And I did say that I'm quite open for any people who live in sort of the East Anglia area, that if they or further afield, if you really want to travel, to come and see the performance. Josh is going to be there at least for one night. If you wanted to just come along, meet up with us, we could possibly, have a drink or something, a little chat afterwards, after the show. More than welcome. And as an added bonus, I have managed to get hold of 4 tickets that I'm going to give away to you listeners on the podcast. There's 2 tickets for the Friday, 2 tickets for the Saturday. They are e-tickets, so I can email them across. If you want to, I'm not expecting there to be loads and loads of interest in this, so it's not exactly like a prize draw. It's almost like first come, first served. If you want them, you can have them. Otherwise, I'll be just giving them away to my mates.
If you like country music, then
if you like country music and you want to come and meet me and Josh, at somewhere that's public and, it's fairly safe, I suppose, surrounded by people, then, there is that option. Write in an email or let us know on the Discord or something like that. And, you'll need to send us an email at some point so I can send you the tickets. But there is that option available. It is a giveaway, and it has cost me over 50 quid for these tickets. So
But you can't put a price on love.
No, or entertainment. So yeah, snap them up while you can, if you fancy it.
Yeah, and see Pirate playing some drums and a country music festival thing.
All dressed up in a very cowboy costume.
Oh yeah, that is going to be a treat for the eyes.
I've already got the hat. I haven't shown you that yet, have I? I'll show you after the pod.
I can't wait. It's going to be good.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Mate, it's going to be brilliant. I'm actually debating between two costumes because there's a first and a second act. There's going to be pyrotechnics going off, everything like
Pyrotechnics.
Pyrotechnics. Well done. You used that final soundbite. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be getting involved in this if it wasn't going to be awesome. And the fact that this is it's an award-nominated amateur dramatics company.
Yeah.
And this is a musical performance. I'm taking it to the next level, man. So
I have
my
a
own
question.
pyrotechnics are being involved.
Does your outfit have tassels?
Not currently. I tried.
Tassels.
I tried to get tassels. I'd got a tailcoat.
Okay, that'll do. That'll do. Rhinestones?
I don't even know what they are.
There'll be rhinestones there.
There'll be rhinestones. Yeah.
Some would say rhinestone cowboys.
I'll be wearing a neckerchief.
Ah.
That's pretty cowboy, isn't it?
That is. I've also got a bolo tie if you want to borrow it.
You won't see that underneath the neckerchief, though, will you?
Yeah, I put it on top. That'd be right. Use it like a necklace.
Whatever. Right. Till next week, I've been Pirate.
I'm Josh.
This has been Paranormality UK. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta! Big shrimping style.